What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. We got some major stuff going on here. President Biden said some things that might trigger, did trigger a major response from China. We got a couple different things to go over here. Check this out. Yeah, President Biden said U.S. forces would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion, which is interesting because that's completely different than what Ukraine. We didn't send U.S. forces to defend Ukraine, but this is what President Biden says. We do have the Taiwan Relations Act, but Taiwan is not a part of NATO, so it is a little bit different. But this is what President Biden says. His most explicit statement on the issue. This has drawn an angry response from China that said it sent the wrong signal to those seeking an independent Taiwan. When asked, Biden was asked this in a CBS 60 Minutes interview broadcast, whether U.S. forces would defend the democratically governed island claimed by China. He replied yes, if in fact there was an unprecedented attack. He was asked to clarify if he meant that unlike in Ukraine, U.S. forces, American men and women, would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion. Biden replied with yes. Now, this is very important because previously the U.S. has long stuck to a policy of strategic ambiguity and not making clear whether it would respond militarily to an attack on Taiwan. Now, Biden's saying that we would send U.S. personnel, committing U.S. troops to Taiwan to defend against China. Wow. As to comment, a White House spokesperson said the U.S. policy towards Taiwan has not changed, but Biden clearly said differently. Now, after Biden says that U.S. forces would defend Taiwan and we would send U.S. military personnel to Taiwan, after this, China lodges a complaint after Biden says that the U.S. would defend Taiwan in a Chinese invasion. Yeah, you can see here the Chinese Foreign Ministry said on Monday that China has lodged stern representations with the United States after U.S. President Joe Biden said that the U.S. forces would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion. China reserves the right to take all necessary measures in response to activities that split the nation apart, said Mao Ning, spokesperson at the Foreign Ministry at a regular media briefing. Quote, we are willing to do our best to strive for peaceful reunification. At the same time, we will not tolerate any activities aimed at secession. She also urged the U.S. to handle the Taiwan-related issues carefully and properly and not to send the wrong signals to Taiwan independent separatist forces, warning the United States not to seriously damage U.S. relations and peace in the Taiwan Strait, saying, quote, there is only one China in the world. Taiwan is part of China, and the government of the People's Republic of China is the only legitimate government of China, even though Taiwan thinks differently. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here. Are we headed towards World War III? I mean, we already have Russia and Ukraine. That war has been going on for over 6 months. China and Russia, President Xi from China and Putin from Russia, they literally just met here a few days ago. And I mean, they're basically allies. And Putin actually just met with the Prime Minister of India as well. Remember that India and China are the two largest population countries in the world. They both have about 4 times the population of the United States. They have like 1.3 or 1.4 billion people each, and they both buy oil from Russia. Okay. And the United States has around 330 million people. And the United States has basically said, don't buy oil from Russia. Anybody who buys oil from Russia is basically contributing to the enemy. And China and India are contributing, buying oil from Russia right now. Can let me know your thoughts here. Now, look forward in the future. What do you see happening here in the future? Do you think that this is leading towards a major world war? Do you think that this is just talk? Do you think we'll skirt by? The world didn't skirt by with Russia and Ukraine. I mean, I remember a few months ago, it's now, now 6 months ago, when people say, "Oh, there won't be war in Ukraine. That won't happen. That 100,000 troops that Putin put there, that's not going to happen. That's just fear mongering." Look what happened. Now we're 6+ months into the war there. Uh, we've kind of had a lot of back and forth. Russia took a lot of ground. Now Ukraine's taken a lot of ground back, over 6,000 square kilometers that they've taken back. But the problem is that Putin doesn't want to be seen as a losing cause, as a loser there. So will he even give up at ever? Well, I mean, this could go on for a long time here. And remember that Russia has over 6,000 nuclear bombs. Now, we don't want them to use a single one, because nuclear fallout is like the worst thing that could ever happen. Of course, China has them, the United States has them, many, many countries have them. That's not something we want to see at all. Nuclear war is the worst thing ever. Let me know your thoughts. What happens going forward here? And China and the US, the two largest and best militaries in the world, we surely don't want to have a war between us. It's just not. I mean, if you think like economic things and the stock market and things like that are bad now, what would happen? All this over a country in Taiwan, which is a relatively small country. I mean, can you imagine? Like, like we would just hope that we could just continue to not, have a war between the two major countries. Let me know your thoughts here. Next up, lawyers representing migrants jumped on Martha's Vineyard, now want Florida Governor DeSantis criminally investigated over the stunt. Yeah, I assume that these lawyers are working pro bono here. But a lot of people are up in arms over this on both sides of both sides of the fence here. People upset about the illegal migrants coming into the country, and then there's people upset here about the whole. Some people saying that this is human trafficking, and how could you do this? People on both sides of this here. Here's the details on this. Attorneys for the dozens of migrants who were dumped on the Massachusetts island of Martha's Vineyard have called on the state and federal prosecutors to open a criminal probe into the, quote, shameful political stunt orchestrated by Republican Florida Governor Ron Desantis. A Boston based lawyer for civil rights groups, which said it is representing more than 30 of the migrants, sent letters to Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey and the Massachusetts U.S. Attorney Rachel Rollins over the weekend, saying that, quote, criminal laws were broken by the perpetrators of this stunt. Criminal laws. Last week, 50 undocumented Venezuelan and Colombian immigrants were flown on 2 chartered planes from Texas to Martha's Vineyards. It's really interesting that the Florida governor would pay money to send 2 chartered planes from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. When I first covered this story, I thought it was a typo that it was planes from Texas to Martha's Vineyard. Why is the Florida governor paying money to send planes from Texas to Martha's Vineyard? Why is Florida governor paying money to do this? Isn't that strange? The Florida governor's doing this? You can let me know your thoughts on this because again, it's in Texas. But you can, yeah. Again, I thought it was a typo. I thought it was people from Florida, but it's from Texas. In a move that was organized by the Florida governor Ron Desantis. That's why I think actually in that video I actually got my words mixed up there. But nonetheless, no Massachusetts officials were notified that the dozens of migrants were coming. The immigrants have since been relocated to a military base in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Our clients were introduced to board airplanes and cross state lines under false pretenses. A lot of the migrants even said that they were misled, told they were going to Boston, and said they were going to be given jobs and food. And they obviously didn't go to Boston. They went to Martha's Vineyard, an island, which won't have work for them in the winter and stuff. Individuals working in concert with the Florida governor made numerous false promises. This is a quote here. Individuals working in concert with the Florida governor made numerous false promises to our clients, including of work opportunities, schooling for their children, and immigration assistance in order to induce them to travel. Yikes. DeSantis' office did not immediately answer when asked for a comment on the attorney's statement. I think this is the lawyers, pointed to how the migrants were reportedly told they were going to Boston and that they could find work there. Quote, it was only when the flight was in midair that they were informed that they would be flown to Martha's Vineyard instead, rather than Boston, as many of them were told. Once the planes landed, those who had induced our clients to travel under these false pretenses disappeared, leaving our clients to learn that the offers of assistance had all been a ruse to exploit them for political purposes. The perpetrators targeted our clients based on race and national origin in order to make the political point that they wanted. This type of conspiracy to deprive our clients of their liberty and civil rights and interfere with federal immigration proceedings must be thoroughly investigated for violations of criminal laws, and that it must be investigated for violations of Massachusetts Civil Rights Act and all other criminal laws. Let me know your thoughts on this. Also, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is looking to pass a bill for a national abortion ban. They said that this is something they're going to try to vote on, especially if Republicans take over the House or Senate. Here's the latest details on this. 15 Republican senators have signaled opposition to Lindsey Graham's nationwide abortion ban. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham's proposed legislation to ban abortions after 15 weeks on a national level has cleaved the Republican Party less than 2 months out from the high-stakes midterm elections. At least 15 Republican GOP stands for Grand Old Party, aka the Republican Party. At least 15 Republican lawmakers from the Senate have signaled opposition to the legislation, with a majority saying abortion decisions should be handled on the state and local level rather than through a federal law. Democrats have been boosted at the ballot box by the Supreme Court's decision in June to overturn Roe v. Wade and the constitutional right to abortion. Graham on Sunday defended the legislation, which only carves out exceptions in the case of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother, despite the splintering it caused within its party. He says, quote, I'm confident the American people would accept a national ban on abortion at 15 weeks. And to those who suggest that being pro-life is losing politics, I reject that. The 15 Republican senators who spoke out against this are Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate, told reporters last week that, quote, most of the members of my conference prefer that this be dealt with at the state level. Republican Senator John Thune from South Dakota said that this is his idea, his decision that he's putting out there. Whether or not it ever gets voted on remains to be seen. Roger Wicker from Mississippi, Mike Rounds from South Dakota, Ron Johnson from Wisconsin, the guy who also blocked a $1,200 stimulus check previously and also wants to block Social Security and wants it to be voted on every year and also doesn't want it to be mandatory. Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, Susan Collins from Maine, Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania, Roy Blunt from Missouri, that's not Montana, it's Missouri, I believe. Jerry Moran from Kansas, Rand Paul, John Cornyn, Rob Portman from Ohio, Bill Cassidy, Sherry Moore Capito, and that's the 15th. So let me know your thoughts on this. Also, I've seen a very interesting story related to this and the amount of people that are showing up, particularly women, who are going to be voting here this midterm election. Take a listen to this. Check this out.
Of Roe v. Wade is something that, I grew up knowing my rights as a woman, and now to potentially raise a young daughter in the future knowing that her rights are going to be less than the rights that I have, I'm concerned. We need more women at that table.
Hey everyone, welcome to Unmuted. I'm Brittany Jones-Cooper, and today I'm talking with Cara Mund, a former Miss America from North Dakota who decided to run for U.S. Congress after the reversal of Roe versus Wade.
Thank you for having me.
You grew up doing pageants. And in 2018, you were named the first Miss America from North Dakota. Huge deal. You've also been outspoken about some of the bullying you experienced in the pageant system. So how did pageants prepare you for this burgeoning career in politics?
Being Miss America was such a huge honor, but above just the title of Miss America, it was being the first from North Dakota. There was a lot of pressure, and it became very evident early on that I was expected to be a puppet, and I was not okay with it. I knew it had to be better for the next woman, and so I look back on my decision to speak out, and I'm so proud. It was one of the hardest days that I've had, but also the moment where I think I really found my voice and got the courage that when I see injustice, I have no issue at this point now standing up for those who aren't being heard. So at the end of my Miss America year, when I spoke out about the organization, I ended up getting a pro bono attorney who made me realize the power of the law. And I think that also then inspired my interest in policy making.
And you recently took the bar. Did you pass?
I did. I just found out a few days ago. So I was so thrilled. I say all the time, your failures aren't the things that you didn't get. They're the things you're too afraid to try.
So in August, you announced your candidacy to represent North Dakota in the U.S. House of Representatives as an independent. Why was the abortion issue such a catalyst for you?
When the Roe decision came out, I felt like there needs to be someone willing to challenge the status quo. The Democratic candidate at the time was anti-choice as well as the Republican candidate. And so I didn't feel like my voice, my perspective was being heard. And it wasn't just me, it was for women across the entire state.
And you're running as an independent and you had to get 1,000 signatures to get your name on the ballot. But why didn't you just decide to run as a Republican or a Democrat?
The North Dakota GOP has recently enacted 2 rules that I completely disagree with, that I think are meant to keep people out, are there to keep only those that are wealthy. So the first rule is that if you try to get the nod from any other party, you are not welcome with them for 6 years. And then the other one is that now to get the endorsement from the party, you have to pay a fee. And so the fee goes all the way up to $5,000. So rather than pay to get on the ballot, I wanted to make sure I worked my way on the ballot.
Yeah, running as an independent is such a bold move. I mean, did you have any nerves doing this?
It is a bold move, and I knew I had to be as strategic as possible. From June until August, I was planning a campaign while also studying for the bar exam. The incumbent felt like it was just this guarantee. And then when it came time to run and to announce my candidacy, I knew they weren't ready because they didn't think that this would be a race.
Surprise.
Yeah. I knew it was an uphill battle, but there are a lot of ways to win. So whether that's bringing more women into the arena, whether that's bringing more independence in the arena, there's a lot of ways to define a win.
So in November, you're going to go up against Republican Kelly Armstrong, who's seeking his third term. So what are some ways that you two differ, and what are some issues that you're running on?
Obviously, the Dobbs decision is a huge difference. He has stated that he is fully anti-choice. I've challenged him in a debate about our North Dakota trigger laws. He keeps pushing that it should be back to the states, but he voted against codifying it when most of the nation, I think, is pro-choice and making sure that, those decisions are between a woman and her doctor. With the Inflation Reduction Act, I would have voted for it. He voted against it. And I think also just the partisanship and upholding democracy. He has stated that he hasn't watched the January 6th hearings, yet he's on the committee for the judiciary. It's a concern when that is your job.
What message do you want to send with your candidacy?
When people are upset with their government, when they are upset with their leaders, when they're upset with their parties, speak out. And there's a lot of ways to that. It could be voting. It could be running for public office. It could be supporting a candidate, especially as women trying to get into the arena. There are a lot of obstacles. We need women in these spaces, and especially after the Dobbs decision, because if you're not at the table, you're going to be on the menu.
Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here in the comments. She graduated from Harvard and she's, hey, running as an independent, not a Republican, not a Democrat. So we'll see. We'll see how she ends up. What do you think? What do you think? So we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, and I get that some people are pro-choice and some people are, women's choice. Some people are pro-life, and but honestly, and some people are, pro-gun, and some people are gun safety, and I think that this particular election, a lot of these different issues are really going to determine and going to make this the most voted on election ever. And I think a lot of these things are really shaping the future of our country here, state by state, even. We're seeing a lot of these things, and really we're looking at a lot of economic policies, inflation policies, and what states are doing with their money, what's happening with people's money, which is really a lot of what our channel covers. What is happening economically and on a money situation here. It's really a lot of focus on what our channel covers here. Um, I get questions all the time. What is Texas doing with their money? What is Florida doing with their money? And it's like, yeah, what is your governor doing with their money? And I see this all the time here. States just sitting on billions and billions and billions of dollars. And sometimes you see these politicians that win by landslides year after year after year for any particular states. I'm seeing it in Ohio too, the state that I'm from. And I get a question saying, Jimmy, where is the money? And I say, I wish I could tell you. I'm not in the state representative. I don't really want to be either, because I pinned a comment from one of the last videos saying, someone said, here, let me look it up. So yeah, I pinned this comment here. I think it was the video at the end where we talked about Queen Elizabeth, how she had a line of people, thousands of people there to see her, her casket at the end. And I said, I wish that we had that in our country, where we weren't a divided country. So many people, Republicans hate the Democrats, Democrats hate the Republicans, and it seems like our president is just always a hated person, right? I had a comment here. I pinned it. It says from Jerry Sheen. Jerry says, Jimmy, I talked to an 11-year-old boy. Let's see if I can zoom this in a little bit more. Talked to an 11-year-old boy last week and asked him if he could be the president of the United States when he grew up. Would he like that? The boy said, I would rather work at McDonald's than be the president of the United States and be hated by everybody. He said, no thanks. It was just a wow moment. And I said, wow, isn't that sad? And, that's really one of the saddest parts about our country, that, we're not the United States of America. We're really not united in a lot of sense. We really don't have a lot of united moments anymore. You know, you really think about how divided we are when it comes to, morality and being united, and, how many people hate the president, whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever the president is. You got to think about even the next president going forward. And how if the Republicans take over, they're already talking about how they want to impeach Biden. Uh, Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about how she wanted to impeach Biden before he even became president on the first day of his office. And you got to kind of think about the next president. Are we going to try to impeach the next president, whoever it may be, and the next president, and the next president? Let me know your thoughts here on this. It really feels like we really need to come together one way or another. You let me know your thoughts in the comments. So I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. Make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. If you haven't yet, just click the subscribe button, then the bell icon. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos that come out here every day on our YouTube channel at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can click on this video next. Just did a brand new video on millions of people that are getting checks here, some that you might not even know about here. That's a really good video. So click on this video next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.